Hello everyone, welcome back to Yokai Temple, and we are up here over at the temple complex, as always it would seem so far, because I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So, first on our list here is going to be the alchemical construct, which I have set up where our crucible originally was, and indeed still is. So this is basically crucible crafting advanced. So instead of just chucking in stuff and like getting a whole bunch of extra essences that creates a whole bunch of taint and flux and all sorts, very heavy impurity in that, we can now just give it an item and it will figure out what exactly you want to make, and then it will actually like just suck in the ingredients you want from nearby jars so that it can actually like craft it and chuck it out. So right now it's set for neutronized metal. If I have a bunch of iron on me, don't I? Yes, there we are. If I give it some of this, then it will say, oh, do you want to craft something else? So, right now it wants to know about falmium ingots, which require precantatio. So if I replace one of these jars with precantatio, then it would suck in the precantatio from a jar and create some falmium. So, perfect, good to know, very handy to have. Now, the next question is, how do I get stuff into these jars? And the answer is through the arcane alembic. So, case in point, I'm getting a bunch of metallum. Now, the trouble is that a lot of different items have a bunch of different essences. So, for example, this clipboard has sensus and volatus, and coal has potentia and ignis. And let me see, is there anything else around here that I've scanned? Yeah, ender pearls I've been using a lot. I have alienus, iter, and precantatio, and all of varying amounts too. So you need to have a bunch of these. But if you drain all of the essentia from a given alembic whilst it's still processing, then it has a very good chance of just coming up with another one and sticking it in there, which might not be the one that you already have a jar for. So to solve that issue, I have this here jar label. Now a jar label you can put onto the jars themselves, which limit what goes into them if they happen to ever be drawn to an empty status, and then you can also, if an alembic has some essence in it, then you can right click with a label and it will mark that alembic as only being allowed to hold that particular essence, making it a lot easier to process. So what I generally do when I'm doing this is I just shut all of these valves that prevents the essentia from coming out of the alembics, wait for a given essence type to go into an alembic, and then I right-click with the label so that it only goes into there, and that makes things a lot more tidy and neat and, like, easy to do. The next problem is that unlike normal wooded jars, these quantum jars cannot be moved. So to fix that, cardboard box, on we go, pick it up, take it over here. This one I think goes on top of the precantatio. I will be sorting this out later, but not right now, evidently.
Joined your channel.
Apparently there's a party. Great. Anyways. Oh, hey Mizuki-san. Okay, so, next on the list relates directly to this big mess over here. So this is my infusion matrix, which you've seen before. You've seen me use it to make these lovely boots. And underneath it, I have a bunch of a bunch of crystals arrayed on these magical crops obsidian-infused oak wood planks, because it looks pretty and it makes them flame retardant. And those are being used to stabilize this, so that I can actually do more unstable, more dangerous kind of infusions and not have things get destroyed or blown off or create more impurity and all that kind of thing. It's not perfect, it can do fairly decent infusions quite happily, but you can make this a lot better, such as by adding candles, such as by adding skulls, but I'm not putting skulls around my infusion matrix, no. But there is the problem, which is why I've dug this thing out of the ground again, which is that these pedestals get in the way a lot. I don't really want to move this, I like where it is, but the pedestals being here all the time creates a bunch of pathing issues, not even just for Mizuki-san, just also for me as well. So, to fix that, we're going to investigate a mod known as funky locomotion. So if I head on down to the shop, then we can probably get a start on this. Yep. And this is a lot easier now with my traveler boots, so doesn't take very long at all. Whee! Super jump! Super jump. Okay, good. Right. So, down here in Soko no Hayashi, I have made a whole bunch of Invar. and with fairly good reason, as we'll see in a moment. So, if we take iron for ingot, smash one of it into nuggets, and then lay the rest out like that, add a couple of Invar ingots, then we get this frame block. Now this functions sort of like, what's the best way to describe it? It functions sort of like slime blocks in more recent versions of Minecraft. The exception being that using a wrench, so if I just open Funky Locomotion in here, we can see there is a wrench. So the wrench is just iron nugget, and go. So, do I have an iron nugget around? Yes, I do. Good. Boop. Okay. So the wrench is capable of telling a given side to not grab whatever block it's on, which is helpful because it will, by default, try and grab every single block. And unlike slime blocks, the frame blocks can actually move tile entities, like the arcane pedestal. So it will try and move basically anything that's next to it, unless you tell it not to by shutting off that particular side. Now to move them, we need what's called a frame pusher. Now this requires a machine frame, diamond, a couple invar, and some enderium nuggets, which I don't think I have anything of. Oh no, I do. In fact, I have slightly more than I'm going to need for this. That's helpful indeed. So let me just quickly throw together some machine chassis, and I will be right back. Okay, so a couple of machine frames, bit of invar on the sides, and that should get us a couple of frame pushers. We actually only are going to need the one frame pusher, but you use it as an ingredient in another part that we're going to need. Let's see, a couple of diamonds. Boy, do I ever have diamonds. The spirit farmer is working quite lovely on that notion. Doop doop. And, oops, have I got that wrong? Invar ingots, enderium nuggets, pulsating iron. Oh, that's what I grabbed. Okay. I knew I wonder how I managed to have those. Have the enderium. Okay, fortunately, we do have enderium in here, so it's not that hard to get. How many people were just yelling at me about that particular little mistake, I wonder? Okay. Actual enderium now. So, 2 frame pushers. Now, the frame pushers will push the frames in their entire configuration, everything they're connected to, 1 block in the direction that they are facing. To pull it back... Busy day. To pull it back, we're going to need a frame puller, which requires slime and redstone. I apparently did not have any redstone on my person, but I do have it in here, perfectly fine. That's why we're in the workhouse today. Okay. So, frame pusher. And a dot of slime. I believe gelatinous slime will do. If not, I can go and grab some more. Yes, it does. Okay, frame puller. So, that will pull the frame that is 1 block ahead of it down, like towards it. And apparently I did not finish up crafting the other puller. What happened there, I wonder? Oh, very strange. So stick that there, stick that there. Oh, I must have run out of invar. Okay. Or did I? Did I? Did I? I don't... Did I? There we go. Okay. Another frame puller. Very odd. But then many things I deal with are. Okay. And let me just grab as well a lever just to demonstrate this. Okay. So. Hopping back onto the roof here, and then hopping way back over there with Nishinohashi, which, by the way, has an incredible range. I did not previously appreciate the actual max range of the Nishinohashi. I have gone pretty much from the other side of Dave over to here, like just by latching onto a tree that's on that hill there. That was a pretty sweet endeavor. Okay, so anyways, we've got our frame puller, so we'll stick that there. And we need power. These things do require a degree of power, so okay. That was strange. Where's my... Okay, hang on. Lost 2 secs while I go and grab my spare tesseract, apparently. Okay, so, tesseract in place. This is now receiving power. So if I put the frame pusher... If you'll let me, there we go. On top there. So now they are both receiving power. I think the amount of power they use varies depending on exactly how much frame block they have to push, but for now it's fine. Okay, so stick that there, stick that there, and I'm going to need to do a little bit of tinkering here. One moment. I have my wrench. Hopefully this will actually allow me to grab these with power. No, but apparently not. Just allows me to rotate them. That's not very helpful at all. Okay. Crescent hammer. Nope. Okay, apparently you just can't keep the power in these. Pity. Okay. But I need to take one of these off so that I can put one there and tell it not to be pulling stuff. So like that and that. And a little bit down here. That one as well. Okay. So, frame puller over here. And frame pusher there. And why is to your shenanigans? Frame pushers. There. Okay. So now, this is able to push these frames all the way up one block, and then this one is able to pull it from directly down one block. So, if I have a lever, and let's just stick some dirt down here for illustration purposes. So, one there, up it goes. Fairly straightforward. And then, one here. Down it comes. Now, you can also make what's called a frame slider, which will push it in a direction as long as it can, so you can push it sideways or vertically depending on how you orient it, but it has to be a straight line. As long as there is a block of that frame touching the frame slider, it can continue doing that. But we don't need to do that, we just need basically one block of raising and lowering. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it up to a remote comparator that's connected to this arcane pedestal. So that I can take this out and the stuff will rise, and I can put it back and the stuff will lower. I'll probably include a bit of wiring so that I can make sure I can have a timer so that after a while these will definitely go down, even if I've forgotten about it, because heck knows I do. But just for illustration's sake at the moment, so if we have at the top of this, whoop, a bunch of frame blocks, and do. We can have our arcane pedestal, and in our arcane pedestal we can have our wand. There we go. So there it is, sitting happy as can be. And then I can use my lever to push it up, and it's still perfectly there. And then I can also use another lever and bring it all the way down. Perfect. So that's what I'm going to be doing, so I'm just going to flash forward a bit whilst I actually set this up, and then I'll describe to you exactly what's happening. Catch you in a moment. Okay, welcome back. It is a fair bit later. I actually had to go off and do some D&D work. But I believe I've gotten this thing sorted out. So, as you can see, it remains statically in the retracted position so that the pedestals are level with the ground, which means we can all walk over it quite happily. It weaves quite happily inside of our sort of stabilization matrix, if that's what you want to call it. And it connects to every single one of our pedestals because it hooks in at the corners, and all of these blocks are on the outside edges deactivated so that they won't pull anything along with them. I'm pretty sure they could pull the crystal clusters and stuff if I didn't have that. And down here. So, very simple wiring to make this actually work. Just behind this block here is the tesseract that's providing power to these, which makes it very straightforward and simple. And then we have the wiring. Like, this part is the easiest part. If the power is on, then that torch is off, and this is on, so it pulls back, and otherwise if the power's off, the torch is on, so the push is on, so it gets shoved up. So, basically, when this is in use, then this line is off. Very straightforward. So, we have the remote comparator, which, for purposes of demonstration, I'm just going to hook up to this pedestal, as is the aim. So there we go. This being Falmcraft and this being Automagi, they're quite happy to do that. Yep. Okay, so I stick this in here, and what we see happening is that a signal is coming directly out of here. I kind of color-coded the wires to make this a bit easier for you guys. Also, it makes it easier to do this part without having to have a little block in the middle to block them. So what's happening is, if there is anything in the pedestal that outputs at a full power, because it can only hold one item, so the power comes out really strong, and it hits into both of these. So here we have a NOT gate. So if something is taken out of the pedestal, then this suddenly outputs a signal. So it goes through the pulse former, just like a tick pulse, and it goes directly into the toggle latch, switching that state. Now, conversely, we also have another pulse former here, so if anything goes into the pedestal, it goes into this AND gate, which I need to alter with a screwdriver. Is a screwdriver very hard to make? Because I do not remember it at all. Not volts, Project Red. 2 blue and a bit of iron. I can probably manage that, actually. Okay, so now I need to tell this to only accept power from those 2 sources, which will be there. Okay, so what's happening now is power comes into here, and if indeed this is also outputting a power, which is to say that this line is off, which is to say that the system is up, then a pulse will travel through the AND gate and into the toggle latch. Now, what that means is that this is basically a form of edge trigger, which means that the state will change every single time there is a state change, which is to say that every time something goes in or out of the pedestal, there'll be a pulse. If the pedestals are already up. Now, so that means that a pulse will go through when the pedestals are down, which is to say this line here, and a pulse will try to go through if the pedestals are up, whenever something is put inside of the actual pedestal up there. The toggle latch is just on or off, and whenever it's off, this timer can actually start counting down. It's probably set to 4 or 5 seconds. I'll be upgrading that to a much longer signal later. And this is so that if I take out the wand from the pedestal and just basically wander off, as I am prone to do, then eventually the pedestals will retract, and then if I put a wand back into the pedestals, then this signal will be on again, and then nothing will happen, which is what we want. Basically what we want to happen is, if we take the wand out of that pedestal, we want these pedestals around the matrix to rise. If we then put it in, or this timer flips, we want those pedestals to come down. So that should be what we see happening now. Let me just set that properly. So there we go, just to be clean about this. Perfect. We can now go and test this, because that remote comparator should be able to reach this signal. So there we have them in their default position. I take that out, and up they come. And then in 5 seconds, about now, they go back down. And if I put it back now, nothing happens. Take it out. Up they go. Put it back in before the timer goes. They go back down. And the timer gets frozen because the power comes back on, so it resets. So, perfect. I think that will be absolutely wonderful. I can now surround this with marble or something. Some kind of path kind of block to sort of tie it in with the main temple section there. And then we can finally get to work on like tidying things up around here, because the next thing I need to worry about is all of these bottles, because they're building up, and there's a lot of aspects. Like, I think I have all of the aspects unlocked. So let's take a look. How many are there? So it's 4 by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 times, so that's 45, I believe, types of essence, and I'm pretty sure that I've got all of them. Yeah, I think I've got all of them. Unless any of these turn up as unknown, I have found every single essence. Because, thankfully, NAI is compatible with this system, so it only shows them as known if you actually know what they are already. If you've actually discovered them. And, indeed, it looks like there are no unknowns. So, yeah, I've got all of them, which means there are 45 essences, which means I'm going to need at least 45 of these jars. Now these jars, the quantum jars, are pretty handy because they can hold up to 640 of an essence, but still, that's quite a bit. But anyways, very quickly, because I'm running really low on time, where is my book? Book. There you are. I want to make something that you guys have been slightly clamoring for, so we can see what it's like. And Kakarai thinks this is entirely in my color, so I'm going to enjoy this. Okay, so I'm going to need gold, leather, a bit of emerald. Oh, 2 leather and an emerald. Well, 2 leather I can handle quite easily. But I'm also going to need to make some armor pieces. And I'm not entirely positive if I have all of the equipment, all of the materials on hand to do this. But let me see. I need a chest plate. If my mouse can cooperate, please. Thank you. Okay. And I'm going to need some leggings. There we go. That leaves me with 10. I think that's enough for what I'm looking at here. So 2, 6, 9. Yeah, just. And then I need 4 gold and an emerald. Okay. And I'm gonna put this stuff on just so we can see exactly how ugly this is. Like, I'm so glad that I am not keeping this. I'm so glad that I get to find something so much more attractive very, very soon. Look at that. That is terrible. That's like old Tekkit days kind of grade of terrible looking armor. I mean, my Cloak of Virtue kind of like offsets it a bit, but yeah, don't like it. Okay, I think I've got the stuff I need here. So let's start with the helmet, naturally. So for that we need 16 tutamen, 16 precantatio, and 24 metallum. So let's see, where have we got? Tutamen. I'm not wearing my goggles, so I can't see what this is. 76, good. And let's see, we also need, yep, some precantatio, plenty there, and plenty of metallum. So let me amp up this timer so that it actually like doesn't close whilst we're trying to run this thing. Put that up to a couple minutes. Let's see, 300 seconds is 5 minutes. I don't think this takes 5 minutes. I'll be amazed kind of if it does. Okay. And it requires, let's see, 2 falmium, 2 golds, and an emerald. 5 ingredients total. Which I think I'll be able to make it a reasonably, like, organized arrangement. But this is a minor, so I don't have to worry very much about this being unstable. This will be easier once I have the floor in as well. And of course the pedestals do retain their contents when they move. So that's great to know. Grab that. Up they come. And then I just need to stick the helmet in it. Wait, what did that say? No, durability and stuff. Never mind. Okay. Go. Just while you're doing that, I'm going to turn this up a little bit more. To something more like 600 seconds. Because, you know, better to be safe than sorry. So that is 10 minutes. If an infusion is still going after 10 minutes, I will be amazed. Like, I don't know what kind of infusion could last that long. And given that this episode is probably running long by now, I may be a little bit on the speedy uppy section of this. So, engage, like, engage Nyan mode. Aha! And there we have it, our first piece of fortress armor. Falmium Fortress Helm. Now, of course, this isn't enchanted yet, but it does look pretty good, so let's take that on. And, okay, I look like a low-grade shogun so far, but we have more pieces to do. We still have the Falmium chestplate and the Falmium leggings, so let me quickly run you guys through doing that. I need 2 pieces of leather, and I know at least one. Which one is it that requires the 2? Okay, no, they just both require 1 gold. Okay. In fact, they require virtually identical requirements. So the Fortress Cuirass requires 4 Falmium, and the Fortress Fireguard requires just 3. Which thankfully I do have. Okay, so let's go with the Cuirass first, I think. So, let's see, that was 1 gold. 1 lever, and I'll stick the wand in for now, just so that the timer resets, which I guess might be my one slight flaw in this plan, but we can cope. So, that's there, that's there, that there, that there, that's there, and the leggings go right there. Pick that up. Those come up. Floor eventually in place. Go! And I did make sure I have all of the ingredients for this, so we should be fine. But yeah, I don't actually know what would happen if these pedestals were to retract before the infusion was finished. I don't particularly want to find out, because this stuff hurts. But anyways, re-engaging Nyan mode. Okay, and there's our second piece. So let me grab that and put that on as... Okay, so that is basically... That's basically a kilt. There's no other way for me to describe that. That's an armoured kilt. But if I add that, we've got little pieces to the sides there that extended out, I think. No? Okay, looks like there isn't much change there, but there is a change to the helmet. We now have those flaps there. And I don't quite know what those are for. If anyone happens to understand, like, Japanese armor, please let me know what those are for. But, next piece. The chest plate. So, this one is a 6, so this makes it a lot easier, actually. So, that, and then that, and that. And it was one piece of leather, which is not easy to fit into this. Am I sure it's that much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, because it goes where one of these golds is. There we go. Okay, re-engaging Nyan mode. Hey, there we go, and thanks, Meg, because your arms get kind of tired doing that dance for too long. Okay, so that is our Falmium Fortress Cuirass. And, okay, I now have... there we go. Took a little bit of delay. I now have that little banner there, which is usually only worn by shoguns, like commanders kind of thing, so that's pretty good. Got the plates down my cuirass, and... down my cuirass, yes? No, down my thigh guards. And I've got these nice little pauldrons on my actual, like, main armor there, which are pretty cool. Pretty cool. Look at that, that is pretty sweet. I am now possibly the most, like, thematically appropriate in armor I could possibly be, and I look dang swanky for it. Obviously, I'm going to be enchanting this off camera because that will take forever, but look at that. I look pretty sweet. And with that, I'll catch you all next time.